Welcome to the last session of the conference. We are so glad you logged back in. We are truly living in a season of change. It's easy to be consumed with all the things we must do, but right now, this session is about you. It's about how you can best navigate these changing times while supporting your own well being and how you can support your staff in doing so as well. There will be plenty of great tips and strategies, so grab a pen and paper. Our next speaker, Susan Gillpatrick, has over 20 years experience in behavioral health and crisis management and specializes in leading a variety of comprehensive crisis prevention and response programs, as well as personal and professional growth training. She is a licensed professional counselor, a board certified expert in traumatic stress, and a certified employee assistance professional. Welcome, Susan.
Hi there, welcome. Welcome to the afternoon of your TAMHO Conference 2020. And can you believe it's December already? I cannot. I'm glad to be here. My name is Susan Gillpatrick, and I'm going to talk with you today about how to have a culture of change that is supportive of your employees, that enhances the success for your employees and for yourself as well. So let's get started. So if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and you could say, COVID be gone, I bet you would. And I bet you could think of 10 other things you'd like to get rid of. But we're not going to focus on all those things we cannot control. I like to separate news that I hear about or situations or problems or circumstances into what can I do about this in light of the situation, and what is out of my control that I need to find a way to work with and see all the choices that I have about things we can't control. So we are going to do that, and we're going to look at these 7 different strategies. The objectives I have are 3. 1, at the end of this session, I would like you to be able to describe 3 of these that we're going to talk about. I'd like you to be able to identify one of these that you would like to create for your team, for yourself. And then thirdly, I'd like you to determine what plan or strategy you're going to actually plug in to yourself, your life, or for your team, and identify what would be the outcome of that when you did that. So those are our 7 strategies, and those are the 3 outcomes we're looking for. So here we go. Strategy number 1, embrace change with a sense of curiosity. Remember when you were a kid and you had questions all the time about everything around you? You know, kids are naturally curious. They want to know things. They want to learn. They want to understand. They want to make sense of things, and they want to put the pieces together in their world. And I think we're a lot like that too, because when we can understand something, it helps us determine how much control we have. What can we do about this, if anything? And that makes us feel better. So we're not stuck. And worst case scenario, we're not in the victim role of feeling like we have absolutely no choice at all and just have a bad attitude. We always have our attitude, even if we can't change the circumstance. So the idea for us is that whenever we're faced with a challenge or change, to have a sense of curiosity about it and think, that's interesting. That is going to be an interesting new policy that we're going to look at implementing, but be open to see what that is. And that's the sense of curiosity. So the next time you hear about a new process, a new challenge, a new potential problem, I want you to just be curious about it and think, exactly what is this that we're going to be dealing with? Why is it going to be this way? And more importantly, what types of solutions might we come up with once we understand what this is? So before jumping to conclusions about whatever the new regulation or policy is or state of your workplace, pause, take a breath, look at it from outside of yourself and just observe it for a minute. Ask clarifying questions to find out exactly what this means. Ask questions, seek to understand it. That's a proactive approach to controlling what you can, which is the opposite of catastrophizing and complaining and reacting, and that just makes you feel worse. So when you have this attitude and approach of being curious, you are welcoming new ideas. You are open to possibilities, even though you have no idea what they are, but you're open to them and you're open to change and figuring it out. When you have this approach, you're active, you're involved, you're moving, you're open to learn, you're open to listen. And this is way better than jumping to conclusions about it. So, and then you just feel bad. So what do you want to feel the next time you learn about a new change? How about thinking, well, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how that came about. So thinking this way will lead to discovering ideas and information and solutions, and then you can decide what to do about it. So when I teach leaders in the workplace about how to handle crisis, I emphasize the importance of communication. Because when employees do not get all of the information about whatever the latest crisis was, they will make stuff up. And that is never good. So then you have to backtrack, get the train back on the track and try to manage all of the rumors and all of the talk of ideas that employees have because they're making stuff up because they don't have the information that they need. So whether you're a manager or an employee, I encourage you to embrace change and not hide from it. Just be curious, be active in seeking the answers. You may not get exactly what you want with these questions, but at least you are doing something about it. So here's some examples, questions that may be helpful. Be curious about why this change was selected over other options that were out there. Is this change going to be temporary? Is it going to be permanent? Could we test this out before we actually implement it? And is this change we're looking at in line with the purpose and the mission of what we're doing for the people that we serve? So if you can tie back the challenge or the change to the purpose of what your company does, make that connection and see how is this going to benefit our clients in the long run, that should make it easier to get through and think about ideas to implement it. Another thought is think about what are going to be the obstacles that we can predict and start thinking about those. What are going to be the benefits if this new plan turns out great? What are the benefits going to be for our staff and for our clients? Also, in putting out kind of a new announcement about a change, if you can put together an FAQ about it, thinking from the perspective of employees getting this memo and this announcement, what are going to be their questions? They may be some of these that we have here, or they may be other things. If you can come up with an FAQ, that could probably save some time as well. Okay, strategy number 2. Lean forward leadership. So if you are a supervisor of any kind, you know there's extra pressures, but there's also the opportunities to make a positive difference. So you're in this unique place because you want to serve the employees that are like under you, but you also want to serve and help the directors or managers, presidents that are above you. So when you first embrace change with curiosity, then you want to kind of lean into it and not duck from it, not ignore it, not hide from it, and hope it just goes away. So let's look at some questions you can ask yourself to help you succeed. Here we go. All right, so what is at the heart of leadership? How can we better serve others? And I really like John Maxwell. He talks a lot about some leadership skills, and some of these I got from his teachings. So What can we do for people to help them succeed? So besides giving them information, also give the information that you do not have. What are going to be some resources that are going to help them succeed? What technology, what benefits, what can you do to help them succeed? What reminders can you give them about flex policies or incentives? Next, let's look at what do people need from me daily that they may not want to ask for? So if you're in their shoes, what would be a need or desire or challenge that they may not want to ask for? They may think it's just too big of a request. They may think it's an automatic no, or they may think it's just going to take too much of your time. It may feel like a complaint for them. Can you predict what those needs might be and address them up front? So how can you make it easier for them to vent? How can you give them venues of communication? How can you check in with them? So you're not seeing them in the hallways or in the lunchroom all the time. How can you check in with them? How can you touch bases with them? You may want to ask them, as we're moving forward, is the way we're checking in with each other working, or would you like to change something about that? Or you can share with them, what is your preference of checking in? So another question is, what can I work on that will help me serve people better? So what is going to put you in the best shape emotionally, mentally, physically, relationally, so that you're going to be the top of your game, and then you're going to be able to serve your staff the best? How can you check in with yourself? How can you pull up a virtual chair and have coffee with your leadership self so he or she can tell you what they need? Next, how will you know that you are serving the people well? What will be the climate of the culture of your workplace or your virtual workplace? What would be the attitudes? What would be the outcomes that you would see, that wow, I'm doing a good job. I'm serving my team well. Perhaps it's having a sense of resilience. Perhaps it's being creative. It's being flexible. It's being solution focused, no matter what. So how will you know? What will you see? What will you hear? What outcomes will come about to remind yourself and show you that you're serving those that you serve well? Next question. What is it like for the people who work with me? So what actions will you take? What approaches will you have that result in a positive and supportive environment for those you work with? So ideally, how would your coworkers feel on a Monday morning knowing that they get to interact with you? So what would that be like for them? And then owning your strengths, think, what can I do that allows me to serve everybody better? Own those strengths, kick them into high gear where appropriate. What has worked well in the past? From your awesome strategic planning, maybe your stellar communication skills, maybe your unique and creative approaches. Try some of those strengths again. And then, how can you be inspiring to others? So let's look at some other ideas in our Lean Forward leadership. So, that song, Humble and Kind? I can't think of the country artist. His wife is Faith Hill, but he has this song about being humble and kind. And I think that's a great skill to have in a leader as well, because you're human and you're always learning yourself. So humble and kind. Another idea to consider is, are you as a leader a thermometer or a thermostat? So a thermometer is going to set the temperature of the room, set the the climate of the culture, and think about your house. Everybody's at home now. Like, what's the ideal temperature for you if you were the only person in charge of setting that and you could set that? So being a thermometer of forward-leaning leadership is setting the tone, it's modeling the culture, and it's setting an example. Whereas a thermostat is simply reflecting what is without any adjustments. Next, we want to be active. So you've gathered more information from being curious. Now you have that responsibility to do something with it and act. So if you've questioned yourself, make your request known to the people higher up than you. Offer your alternatives, even if you think there's no way. Maybe you need to file for a policy revision. Even if you think your request has like zero chance of being approved, go on and do it, because you know what? You're doing something and you're moving forward and you're acting and you're trying. And that's all you can do. Even if you know the answer is going to be no, doing something about something that you're struggling with or you would like to see different will make you feel better than just doing absolutely nothing. Then how can you simplify? How can you organize your schedule and your day? And we're going to look in a little bit about how to redesign your rituals coming up. Next, delegate. So what opportunity can you offer to somebody else to do that's going to highlight their strengths? And it's also a way that you can acknowledge their capabilities and their strengths, and just what can you delegate? It'll help you, it'll help them, it's all good. Next, think about being flexible in your expectations. Sometimes all we can do is all we can do, and all we can do is enough. And I believe that's actually the title of a book. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. So if the circumstances cannot be changed, the thoughts you have around them can, because it's in our thoughts that we can either allow ourselves to spiral into a tailspin, or can you modify your great expectations? Can you reframe the problem as a temporary stressor rather than a permanent rule? Can you learn to be patient with the unknown? That's a learned skill. I think one good thing about the unknown, it takes the pressure off of figuring everything out, of managing the world. It's just knowing you have no idea. But when it happens, and you will cross that bridge when you get to it. So we certainly have a lot of opportunity for that now. So be flexible with the transitions and the conditions you currently face to reduce the effects of these headaches that could come. Have a plan C or a B, C, and D in your back pocket, just in case. Next tip is own it, meaning own not knowing all the answers. Own it if you make a mistake. I think you can name the trauma without the drama. You can name what the crisis is, and not be afraid to name it and own it for what it is. So next, we're going to look at strategy number 3. Remember and renew your resilience. I want you to recall a time when you thought, no, this cannot be happening. You had all kinds of emotions about angst and overwhelm and disbelief and stress, and you may have felt stuck, you may have felt hopeless, you may have felt out of control. And we know that the thought of having no control can be debilitating, especially if we just sit with those negative thoughts and ruminate on the despair and do nothing about it. So now I want you to recall a time when you got through it. You overcame the disappointment or the grief or the frustration. I want you to think about what shifts in your thinking allowed you to take some pause and for some relief of the despair. What difficult but intentional choices opened the door for you to survive that news you did not want to hear? Even what fake it till you make it decisions allowed you to move the needle in a better direction for your own mental and emotional health? And with those thoughts, what new actions did you take? What helped and why? So resilience in business is about being able to find some meaning in the adversity, find some meaning in the problems, and being able to continually improvise to figure it out, which I'm sure you're doing. It's about using your resources in new ways. And it's a mindset. It's a mindset. How you think shapes how you view things, and how you view things impacts what you do about it. And when you're resilient, you're really like energy proficient. You're also finding growth opportunities in crisis. And you're looking for, of course, what you can control, and you're going to capitalize on that. Resilient teams are flexible. Resilient teams have increasing communication. They acknowledge the loss. They look at the lessons. I think you can also celebrate the little victories and be looking for what's right, be looking for what's working well, looking for reasons to make that change work. So when you're resilient, it enables you to get through not only the daily stress and gain new perspectives in that, but also when the big challenges come, you've got greater potential to steer through those. I heard this quote that you never know how strong you are until strong is your only choice. Isn't that the truth? I like that. So I don't want you to think about, your mistakes and choices that were not the best, but I want you to think about times in the past where you were your most resilient, when you were able to adapt to the change without lasting difficulty. So resiliency skills benefit not only the situations of crisis, but your daily life, as I mentioned. You're able to be rational and calm, take one step at a time. And what became possible in your life when you moved from the chaotic thoughts to embracing your resilience? When you intentionally made the switch in your thoughts to ruminating on the distress, how, well, this is not fair, this is not fun, and you actually shifted your thoughts and you got up and had some actions to keep going. So remember your resilience. Skip the pity party. Do not reschedule that annual guilt trip when you focus on those past decisions that you wish you could redo. You're thinking about now, what can you do? So think about the challenge from even this year. What thought did you have that was intentionally putting you in a place to do something about it, to take action? And then what was the outcome when you did take action? And then what was the result? How did you feel? What was the culture and the climate of your team like when you were resilient? And I'm sure you've had many opportunities this year alone, not to mention in your past. Okay, let's look now at strategy number 4. So we've talked so far about how you can embrace change with curiosity, how you can have a lean forward kind of leadership posture, how you've modeled being humble and human, and you're learning yourself, but you're also providing guidance, and you've remembered your resilience, stressors from this year and the past. So let's take a look now at some ideas about how you can encourage employee engagement. So I think some of the best solutions for any problem comes from the people who are in the middle of it. It comes from individuals themselves. And you know this in behavioral health. So in a counseling situation, if the client can come up with some ideas that they can enact for themselves, that can be better a lot of times than a counselor prescribing some ideas. So even for the workplace, So when people are given the environment and the resources and support, then they are empowered to find solutions. So the strategy of encouraging employees to be engaged has many benefits. So let's look at some of these. Some of these ideas I have here. So perhaps each week in your Zoom call, someone can share a challenge or problem, what they did about it, and how it worked, or what needed some tweaking about it, what they learned about that. For example, with the client, was it encouraging words that helped in the solution? Was it a different approach? Or was it simply acknowledging this is hard and this is unfair and not fun? So having somebody share a problem and a solution that they've worked through. Or you could have an end of the month celebration. Celebrate all kinds of things. Just plan on that. Another thing you could ask around, who knows some good apps to deal with stress, to help you sleep, help you track your goals. There's an app for everything, as they say. So you could have a featured app each week that somebody can say, hey, this is what I use and I like it. I'll share an example. I like the app Calm. And at night, I'll put it on a 15-minute timer and I play what's called healing piano. It's just soft, easy piano. And that is part of my nightly routine, is the Calm app for 10 or 15 minutes of the healing piano sounds. So another option is you could gamify some ideas. You could have a contest. You could do an interactive video. You could have a puzzle. You can have a prize. So gamifying it makes it fun, kind of reduces the stress to get through all the other stuff that we can't control. Another option, have a theme for your meeting and get ideas from your staff. Like bring your favorite coffee mug to the meeting, perhaps. Maybe also have somebody share a company resource that they recently used and how that helped them. Was it something in benefits? Was it the EAP? Was it maybe store discounts that they utilized? This reminds staff of all the great benefits and allows somebody to share that they took action to seek a resource and how it worked for them. Also, is it possible to have some sort of outdoor adventure? Maybe, maybe not. You never know. Remember company picnics that were every year? I don't know. Is there something you could do even virtually outdoors to just add a new dimension to the home office and to the typical Zoom calls? Another idea is start the week with a win. You can share or have a staff share something that was a win. Another idea, since I think about, there are limits to what we can do right now as far as getting employees involved and having these great new activities, you can't help but think about the things we wish we could do, but we can't. I suggest start a notebook of post-COVID ideas that when we get through this, when we're able to move around more and return more to what we're used to, maybe even better, what are some ideas that you can plug in at that time? So when you have these great ideas and your first thought is, oh gosh, can't do that, just jot them down and just keep the running, track of some of those ideas. Another idea is have a home office makeover contest. So people could take pictures of their current, which they probably could have done months ago, and how they improved it. So let's just look at some examples. So this would not be a very productive home office, but I know people have to move into the basement, the garage, or whatever, and try to make it work on the fly back earlier this year. And then, ta-da, look at that, a total revamp of a home office. You could have a contest, just something similar that's a before and after for some part of their home office, if that's appropriate. There's some other before and after, just some tweaks, some little organization, some different lighter colors. All right. Now this one looks like, all right, week one of when you had to move home. And then the one on the right looks like they've retired and they've gone on vacation and they don't even work. So that's kind of an extreme example of a before and after. But still just shows possibility. And I think when your environment is more organized, you feel like you can get more done and you're not distracted by all of the stacks of stuff. So just getting a handle on the stuff that's around you can make you feel more productive. So this is some company in, of course, Silicon Valley that we don't have, but it's just an example of when things were normal. A lot of companies had some nice environments. Interesting. Ping pong, you got a little cafes, you got lounging. I see some teapots there. So I bet those companies are trying to adjust now and not able to have all the perks that they had as well. All right, we are looking at strategy number 5. It's a project DIY style, which is going to be all about you. And that is good news because that's one thing we do have control over, and we don't have to manage the rest of the world or solve the problems of everybody we know. So we also know that to be your best self, whether it's as an employee, a manager, a friend, a family member, is that if you don't make yourself the number one priority, then you're only going to have crumbs to hand out to the other people that you serve or other people in your life. So as I mentioned before, we're not going to talk about exercise, nutrition, or even sleep. And those are all great things. That's the foundation for being your best self. But we're also going to look at an emotional state that I think we don't think too much about, that we should bring more of into our life and take a break from being so busy about helping other people. And that is going to be, what do you think about when you see all of these pictures? The word I'm trying to share about is delight. It could be joy, it could be happiness, it could be excitement, it could be love. So I think about just the pure delight in these people's faces, in their actions, and their activities. They're just loving life. So if I had a poll, if this was live, I could put up a poll and have a bunch of positive words and have you choose which word you think all these images represent. So I would think about delight. And I would invite you to write down things that delight you. They could be about relationships, activities, hobbies. And another way to think about things that delight you is to focus on each of your 5 senses. So hearing is one. So what sounds, what songs, what voices of people you love, things that you hear that bring you delight. Think about taste, your favorite things to eat or make and eat yourself. That morning cup of coffee, fresh bread out of the oven, chocolate, there's, you name it. You could focus on all the delights simply about taste. Think about touch, even though we're really missing the touch factor right now. Who do you love to reach out and touch and just savor that connection when you're able to do that, and that healing in touch? Think about different smells that delight you. I remember a hand lotion in my grandmother's bathroom that was, I think it was called rose milk. And smells can take you back, can't they? You smell something that reminds you of the past, it'll take you right back there. Think of all those positive memories of smell. Maybe the cologne that your first boyfriend or girlfriend wore, that brought delight at the time. Now it may bring, ick. Anyway, So think about all your different senses, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you taste, what you smell, and be purposeful in diving into those things and bring them back into your life. All right. Something that brings me delight is being outdoors. So I was taking these pictures of trees just down the street from where I live in Memphis. Beautiful trees. I got to exercise because I was out walking. I like that. I like the mindfulness moments of just looking at the colors of leaves on the trees. Just seeing a bird sitting on a limb, just the sounds of the leaves rustling, looking at the way the sun reflects off of the trees. So for me, it's a simple delight. It's free, it's easy, it's attainable, and I can do it just about any day. So think about for you what brings joy, happiness, delight, and the point is you need to intentionally plug those things into your schedule, because when you do that, it balances out all the other stuff in the world that is negative and stuff you can't control. Another thought is to bring back an old hobby, something you did in the past. Could have been when you were a child, could have been before the pandemic happened, something you enjoyed doing. Is there a way that you can kind of revamp that and bring that back into your life? An example for me was painting. So I'm not an artist by any means, but I enjoy painting. So this upper left-hand corner was an old, looks like 88, old little just for fun painting. Not very exciting, but I'm trying to bring it back just for something fun to do that balances out the rest of life. Here's a few others. I'm inspired by bright and bold colors. I love flowers. I love animals. I love nature. And then the last one here, I like colors that inspire me, and just the freedom of this kind of flying poppies is kind of what I'm titling the painting on the left. And so that's an easy delight that I can escape into doing something that I enjoy. And I would like to know what you enjoy, if you could share with me, if we were interactive, and tell me what you like to do. All right. One other thing that delights me is when you can combine a number of different activities or values or hobbies or priorities into one activity. So here's an example for me. Last year, I have a value of travel. So went to Paris with a group of girlfriends for a retreat. So that had a value of connection and relationships, of travel, of adventure, of newness, of good food. And also I attempted to paint a Picasso image, and one of those is Picasso and one of those is mine. And I'm sure you know which is which, but we will move along. So glad that trip was last year, because it sure would have been canceled for this year. All right, Project U. So here's some things on the right that, I ran across this piece of clip art and I thought, wow, somebody put that together, listed all those things that they think would be awesome in 2021. I happen to agree, I think, with all of them. Besides road trips, I think I'd rather drive for the road trips. But anyway, I would encourage you to make a poster or a Post-it or a notes or a journal of things you're looking forward to for next year right now before January even hits. And one way you can think about this Project U is to consider one or all of these questions. What is something that you would like more of added to your life? Maybe it's something you already have, but you want more of it. Is it an activity? Is it being around certain people? Something you like, you don't have enough of it, you want more of it. Maybe more of going out to a restaurant if that's possible. What is something you would like less of, and having less of it would bring more joy and delight to you? Maybe it's a negative habit that you have that you want to just have less of that in your life. Maybe less news. That would be delightful. And it's just watching less news. Then think about what is something new, something brand new that you can do that's going to boost you up because you're excited about it. You can look forward to it. And studies show you get just as much benefit as of the anticipation of something good and the excitement of it and the planning of it as you do the thing itself. So brainstorm something new and just start planning it. And that'll get you through from now until when that happens with a greater sense of joy and peace and thrill. Maybe something that you need to stop. It could be about you. It could be about something, other people or other things that you need to kind of let go of in order to make yourself the best you can be. So what do you need to have a boundary around, perhaps say no to? So think about some of those ideas. So far we have looked at the first 5 strategies. Now we're going to finish up with these final 2 strategies for success and support. Number 6, be where you are. All right, who has ever seen one of these old TVs? I recall them. And back when you had just these TVs, if you can recall, you would stare at it and you would just escape into it and there'd be nothing else on your mind because you would just be so focused on trying to hear it, number one, trying to see the picture. And that was just where you were. That was even after TV was on radio, of course. So I'm talking about being where you are, and I'm talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being you're awake, aware, and present. You're focused on the right now. You're focused on the current moment. It's purposefully bringing your mind to this moment. It's not about reflecting on the past. It's not about goal setting for the future. It's noticing what's in front of you right now. Think of our mind as like a snow globe, and you shake it up and it's just filled with things flying all around like a snow globe. And there's so much distraction out there in the world, and there's noises and there's other people's agendas. Sometimes you just need to breathe, and you just think about breathing in joy or whatever you seek, and you breathe out the toxicity that you don't want in your life. And mindfulness is about being where you are there. It's about keen observation without criticism. So for starters, just being aware of your breathing, just slowing down your mind. Think about putting like a weighted blanket around the world so it just calms all of that external stuff down. And it's also realizing that your thoughts come and go, and let them just flow through your mind, just like they would flow out the window, because you're not your thoughts, and you certainly don't need to believe every thought you have. So if your mind wanders around, just bring it back to the present moment. Sometimes you can think about an object that's in front of you to just escape into and just fall into that. It could be a view of a sunset, for example. So mindfulness is it's a kind, compassionate observation of yourself and your own mind. It's not worrying about anything exterior, not about the environment. It's not about circumstances, but it encourages you to take a break from some of these unconscious habits of thinking and behaving that we have in ways that don't serve us and that keep us from being healthy and enjoying life, really. So some ideas for this would be to unplug and turn off your phone, turn off the noise, turn off the news, for sure. Practicing gratitude, that's another great way to just have a thought of something you're thankful for, and just sit with that and just hold that in your mind and in your heart, and just let any other random thoughts drift away. I like this quote of the beginning is always today. It's right now, and that's all that we have. It's a lovely sunset I saw just the other night going out to dinner. Just the simplicity of the sunset happens every night, and we just don't take time to look at the colors and the nature and just something that's so easy and natural that we just overlook because we're so busy with other things. So I encourage you to just celebrate the present. Enjoy the now, enjoy today, enjoy what you have. Last strategy, number 7, and I love this picture of this lady. To me, she looks like she's confident, she's in control, she's calm, she has delight, and she has made a routine for her life that fits where she wants to be. So this strategy is about redesigning your routine. All right, so instead of me suggesting a number of ideas that I think would work for you, I'd rather kind of offer these kind of categories. You can think in terms of these different things. So like the roles that you have in your life, roles of a parent, a spouse, an employee, a neighbor, a friend. Think of your relationships that are key. So any one of these categories, you can think about, how do I redesign my routine? How do I schedule in my priorities to reflect all of these things that are important? So you're being supportive of yourself when you identify what's in your life that's relevant, that's important, and you want to make sure that you're doing these things, you're living those things, you're enjoying these things. Think about what new habits you can develop that'll support where you want to be. Think about the people you interact with on a regular basis. It could be in your family, or your household, or your workplace, or used to be. So the point is about being intentional and purposeful, not being a bystander. So you're not reactionary. You're designing the layout of your day and of your life and of your thoughts based upon what is going to be supportive for you and what will help you lead to success as you define it. So we talked about the joys and delights. Do you have those just in your mind, but you're actually not doing anything about them? Then you're cheating yourself. Think about seasons. This could be seasons of the year. So during this wintertime, are the things you need to alter in your routine that would support you? Could be seasons of life, different phases of life that you maybe need to tweak how you're spending your time. Think about the outcomes in the future of what do you want to look back and say, you know what? I made it through last year the best I could because I know I redesigned my routine. I revamped it. I was intentional in planning what I was doing with my day. And then also looking at rituals that you can handcraft to fit your life. Now, this came from Michael Hyatt. He talks a lot about leadership and about the importance of rituals. So the goal with this worksheet is he suggests these 3 tasks. First of all, you want to identify what are you currently doing now in your routine, in your ritual. So you would jot down, you would document what are you doing. So your morning ritual, literally from the time you wake up to the time you transition into workday mode. What are you doing? How much time is it taking? What are you doing for, he calls it work startup. So when you start your day, it's checking email, it's, making calls, whatever it is. And first document and examine what you're currently doing. Write down every little step. And then the workday shutdown. In the olden days, we could have a commute and transition back to home from work and have, something to listen to or somebody to call that would help in that transition. And then evening, what do you do at night that helps you transition from the busy day to the enjoyable evening? I don't mean changing from your day PJs to your night PJs, but anyway. So document it, number one. Evaluate it in terms of the current culture that you want to have for your days. And then set up something new, kind of redesign it and say, where can I fit in these things that are important to me? And the point is not to have more to do, but it's about having more freedom because you're aligning the activities of your day to reflect what you want and where you are. So you have this feeling of control, and that's always good. All right. So we're almost at the point of saying peace out 2020, and we're looking towards the future, and we're thinking about with the end in mind, what can you start doing now? What would your future self tell you to do right now that's going to help you to get through to next year in the best way possible? So, in summary, here were the 7 strategies we looked at. Hopefully you can describe a few of these. You can see one of these that has one idea that you could roll into what you're already doing. And you can see, how can I implement this and what's going to be the benefit for, even if it's just me, just in your own thinking and how you live, or also for those you work with, or how it can benefit both. So I want to thank you very much for all the work that you do. And I wish you a great new year, and remind yourself of your prior resilience. You have a great life right now, and there's no magic wand needed. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Those were great strategies. I think we can all use some of those as we head into the new year. Please remember, session handouts and a link to the conference evaluation, as well as the CEU request form, can be found by visiting the TAMHO website. That's www.tamho.org. We want to thank all of our conference participants, our speakers and sponsors, and the TAMHO Board of Directors for making our first virtual TAMHO conference a success. We wish you a happy holiday season and the best of health in the new year. And we can't wait to see you in person.